please welcome Institute Chairman Michael Milken in conversation with award-winning fashion designer Calvin Klein.
Well, Calvin, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks so much for having me.
Always.
I look forward to this.
So let's start at the beginning. Tell us about growing up in the Bronx, your family, and when you decided to be a, quote, fashion designer.
Well, for starters, I grew up in the Bronx, but didn't spend very much time there because from a very young age, I knew that I had this gift, which was the ability to sketch and draw, and I wanted to pursue that. And so I would come into to the city. I forget we're not in the city right now, but
well, it's okay. We can call it the city.
Okay, I would come into Manhattan to further my studies, and so everything was shaped around the fact that I was interested in art and design. I didn't know till later that it was going to be fashion, and both my parents were very supportive. Especially my father, who I'd never expected it from, was really great. And living up in the Bronx, which it still is, it's really living in the country. We were surrounded by parks, and it was very beautiful and still is.
So there's this myth. I have to double check if it's true, but I thought it was true. It was a good story. How you and Barry Schwartz connected. You know, it's a story that you two were on the steps, you were 5 years old, and you said, hey, we're going to go into business together. So many of us when we're young think that, but the two of you actually did it. So how did you connect?
Both of our families were in the food business. And so we grew up knowing each other because our families were close. And we used to think that business would be the pet shop business. We both loved pets and animals, but it became the fashion business. And I never expected Barry to be a part of that. But it ended up, and it was great. He was always very supportive throughout my childhood experiences, and in business, the same.
So one of the questions, you know, I've never asked you in the almost 40 years we know each other, I've never asked you this question, but why do we wear Calvin Klein jeans and not Barry Schwartz jeans, you know? Now, I can understand that it would be BS label, yep. But why did that occur?
Well, 40 years later, BS might just work, actually. But it was very clear that, I mean, I'm wearing denim today. I wear it all the time. Always wanted to be in the jeans business. And Barry supported it from very early on. As a matter of fact, he used to, when we started, he used to take money out of the cash register in his family store and give it to me, and I used to go and make clothes, make samples, which was the start of our business. In the end, it was jeans that put us on the map, and it was Brooke Shields saying, you know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing. And she was 15 years old at the time. So that
we're very happy to hear that, since she was at 15 at the time.
And that was the beginning of me seeing what I thought was amusing, and the commercials, that they were controversial.
Now, you said it was the jeans, but there was this movie I was watching many years ago, something called like Back to the Future. Tell us a little about what happened there.
Well, I knew nothing about it, and Spielberg put it in the film, and then some friends of mine saw a screening, and I got a call saying, "You're not going to believe this." And my friend who called me, he said, "And the film is going to be a big hit." I said, "How do you know?" And he said, "I know these things." And of course it was. And all of those things that you sometimes never expect contribute to building a reputation. And so I think I had forgotten about this totally. It took me 6 or more months before I would even look at it. It was embarrassing.
So you're telling me he got product placement without approval and without paying royalties to you?
I just got the pleasure of having fun and building the brand, because that was always my concern. How do we build a brand and have it go on for long after I would be involved?
So
go ahead.
So let's talk about that. You form your first company.
Yeah.
No one really knows Calvin Klein from the Bronx. I notice you don't say Calvin Klein from the Bronx. We have Donna Karan in New York, but we never really got Calvin Klein from the Bronx. Today, everyone knows. How did you get from there to here?
It's a combination of so many things. I think it starts with having the talent, being able to make products that are valid, that are the best that you can make, knowing how to manufacture, distribute, and then promote. And the promotion part, the marketing part, just came naturally to me. I once interviewed someone who was going to be in the marketing department, and we had some coffee, and I said, "What do you study at Yale?" He said, "We study you." And it was interesting because when I was in school, we didn't study people, marketing people. It was really just beginning. So the marketing had a huge effect. And again, I opened up my own in-house advertising agency because I couldn't, Madison Avenue was not for me. I knew if we created the product, I know what the message is, I know what I want to say. Who could say it better than us? And so I always found the best writers possible, cinematographers, models. And it turned out to be a success story. And you get slowly from here to there. It doesn't happen overnight.
Those commercials which you created, many of those were groundbreaking. Many of those pushed the envelope of its day, Calvin.
We just set out to do something that would tell a story. In general, I didn't really advertise to sell a product. I was advertising to create a brand. And a good example, you showed obsession, and that tagline was also very provocative at the time. The voiceover comes after the commercial and says, "Obsession, the smell of it." Now, you didn't use the word smell, referring to fragrance or perfume, because that's not correct. And so we just pushed it, and to do something that would get people thinking, like, what is he really thinking about with this fragrance? And it worked. And that's how we went, in a sense, almost viral before the internet. Word traveled so fast that it helped us build a business. And I noticed also in the clip, I've forgotten for the moment about underwear, but that became almost like another industry, designer underwear. All of these things I viewed as sexy. The more luxurious collection clothes, maybe sensual, but there was always a feeling of helping to make women look as beautiful as they can.
So You know, today we ask that question, what's a brand? Do brands still matter today as much as they did before?
More. They mattered to me because I somehow knew I wanted to have a business that would be global. When most people, especially in the fashion world, not beauty, they were thinking of the United States because it's a big country. You can have a nice, very nice business just in the US. But I was always thinking more. And at a certain point, I realized, especially with fragrance, US could be a third of the business, Europe also a third, and the Far East another third. So I was thinking globally right from the start. But you can achieve that if you've developed a brand. Look at Nike, for instance. They don't even need their name on the product. Just a swish. And you know it's Nike immediately because they've created something fantastic through their imaging. It's exciting, it's tough, it's athletic, and people get that message loud and clear.
So really, when I think back, you used viral marketing before anyone knew even what it was, before the internet. It'd be amazing, you know, today what you could do with the internet. How did you do that? How did you even think about that idea? And how was building a brand changed today in the age of social media versus what you had to work with back then?
Social media and the internet have changed everything. Instagram killed the fashion magazine, and when I was building the brand, it was print. I used TV, national ads, outdoor, buses. I wanted people to see it everywhere. Now, look at Kylie Jenner. She's got in 3 years, built a $900 million business with 7 employees. You couldn't do that years ago. So the game has changed, and I think one of the struggles in the fashion world, for sure, is that not everyone knows how to deal with all of this. They haven't quite figured it out, and that's the real challenge.
So you're characterizing and talking about, kind of, Calvin, the state of the fashion world today. What trends trouble you the most, or what trends do you get excited the most when you see what's happening with fashion today?
Well, for me, it's less about a trend. I find I'm troubled by what's happening in the fashion business because Donna Karan, who's sitting in the front row, we built businesses and spent our lives doing it. And the same thing happened in Europe, Coco Chanel, some of the great designer names. What's happened now, because things move so fast, is that I find many designers, when they come to work at a house that has a brand and stands for something, they sign a 2-year contract, maybe 3 years. They're not paying attention to what the brand stands for, so they're really hurting the brand. And then after 2 or 3 years, they're up and ready for the next job and the next challenge. That's not a good thing, considering all the resources were spent in building a brand. Now, you can do it, one can say, well, if Kylie Jenner can do it, anyone can do it. My feeling is those celebrity brands, I think every 2 to 3 years, everyone's going to be on to the next one.
So I think you're talking a little bit about the ability and staying power of a brand today. And we know in the consumer products industry, with the change and ability to sequence your microbiome and what's happening when you're eating this food, that Brands that you might have built for 30 or 40, 50 years can be disintermediated if people feel the ingredients are no longer healthy for them. And so what you're talking about is a brand that's associated with an individual rather than a style, rather than a message. How have they protected your brand and the people that are carrying it today as part of their companies?
Well, I don't want to talk about my brand and the people who are caring for it today. It's a challenge for everyone who's in the business that was built by a person, by a designer. When Donna built her business, she was recognized as one of the most important designers in the country. So celebrities don't have that advantage. It's tough for public companies who choose, the CEO may choose the next designer, and it's a struggle. It's not easy, but it's a challenge and it's doable.
So Calvin, I had the privilege of being able to team up with you to finance Calvin Klein. How important were these decisions to you about financing, capital structure? You from the fashion world, me from the finance world, teaming up here. How do these factors come into play in how you ran the business?
Well, for starters, you become aware, even if you're the creator and you're concentrating on the design part of the business, you become aware if the company's hitting a cash crunch or if business is not good. You can't just a creative person can't lock themselves up in a design studio and have a success. You have to know and be in touch with everything that's going on. When I came to you, I knew instantly, because I'll never forget that first morning. It was really early, and
I apologize because I know it wasn't your prime time.
I was just shoving coffee down my throat, stay up with you, and
there was a rumor you stayed up all night so you could see me in the morning. Any truth to that?
No, but I've done that many times and started a business. That's how the jeans company started. But it was during the stood at 54 years and all of that. But I was well aware, as any designer would be, that things are rough and we're going through a difficult patch. And if you're trying to be creative, at the same time you've got this thing on your shoulder that says something's not right and you need to fix it fast. I knew instantly that you understood exactly what I was going through. And we sat around a board table, lots of people, and I'll never forget when you threw your head back and you started telling me what I need to do. And you were so right on that I knew instantly this was going to be the thing that would save us.
Well, one, it was a great partnership then, it's a great partnership now, and I'm just waiting for your next business to get a chance to finance it today. And it's very interesting. If I think about the entertainment business, so many people want to make a movie that's meaningful to them, even if no one wants to watch the movie. In your business, you had such discipline and knowledge of what people wanted. And I had such significant confidence that you understood the market, the style, etc. So it made a good partnership. Let's go back in time now. Is there one product or one ad campaign that if you could erase it, years later, you say, boy, I should have passed on that one. What would it be?
Well, the one that comes to my mind, which I wouldn't have passed on because it was my idea in the first place. And that was, we were looking to shoot the next campaign for jeans and for fragrance and for all the different businesses that we were in. And the creative directors presented an idea to me, and I thought, how do I tell them I've done this already? It wasn't successful when I did it, but without insulting them. And so I just looked around the room and I saw an image on the wall. I said, what happens if we do that and put them in denim? And the photographer said, would you really do that? I mean, it was, it became known as the kiddie porn campaign that I did. And I said, I think this would be exciting and stir up people. And the Justice Department came after us. Arthur Lyman, who I'm sure you knew well, was my attorney. And when I called him and I said, I don't know what to do, you know, he said, don't worry, don't worry, I'll handle it. That was one that people were really frightened who worked on the campaign. I still would have done it anyway. I have no regrets.
So when you think about being first, you know, we hear constantly, Calvin, of how great it is to be first. The first mover. In some industries, if I went to cable, almost all the first movers went out of business. And it was the second movers who really have the advantage. And as you know, the first movers also often take arrows in the chest and arrows in the back. You know, I still have many of them there, as you do. But you had the energy, creativity, as you just said, to be the first mover, to push culture, to push these ideas. What drove you in this sense?
I have a passion for all the work that I've done over the years and what I'm doing now. I wasn't so driven about being first because I agree. You don't know what's going to happen necessarily if you're first. It could be a big flop or it might be something wonderful. But I would watch what the market was doing. And then if it was something that was interesting to me, a product category, and something that I felt related to my life as all the products did, then I would just want to make it as good as it possibly could be, make it right. First is not necessarily the best thing to achieve for, I think.
So when you're talking about making it the best, when I think of artists in so many ways, you know, to make it the best, you keep fiddling with it, you keep adjusting it, but there's some point in time that you have to say, that's it, okay? And so I know your ability to tweak it here and tweak it there. How did you say, okay, that's it?
Very easy. In the fashion business, you have deadlines. So I know I can keep working day and night, 7 days a week, and I know Donna does the same thing. And to make it as good as it can possibly be. But then when we have to put on a fashion show, people are going to be in the audience. You have to give them something. So we're always facing a deadline. The deadline about delivering product, buying fabrics, manufacturing and keeping the factories busy all the time, shipping, and shipping was always an interesting one for me back in the day because we know who controlled shipping in New York and really in the whole country. And so there were all of these challenges. They all had deadlines. So I was always on deadline.
So today is May 1st, 2019, Calvin. We might have people watching this interview 200 years from now. And depending on some people's point of view, you're a great designer, which is true. Other people's point of view, they told me you're a great marketing individual. You understand the pulse of what people want. And then others said, you know, you're a charismatic leader. I want to work for Calvin Klein. So let's go 200 years in the future. They're watching this on their watch, or it's just pumped into their brain, and they're saying, boy, I want to check out this guy, Calvin Klein. What are the attributes that you want people to remember about you if they're going to pick this video up?
Well, I can't think ahead 2 years, no less 200 years. So I would be very happy if people still knew the brand. Not so much the name or the designer, but the brand and what the brand stands for. That's my legacy.
Tell us what Calvin Klein brand stands for in your eyes, Calvin.
American, modern, sophisticated, understated. Whether it's clothes, interior design, accessories, fragrance, and provocative, sexy, underwear, jeans, all of those other products that almost everything we did had something to do with the body. So, so those are what the things that we were able to do. And hopefully those things will go on and on for a long time, and I would be thrilled.
So let's talk to one I saw when you went into interior design. How do you make interior design sexy, provocative? How do I make furniture sexy and provocative?
Not sexy, well, comfortable, sensual is a better word than sexy. How you sit in you know, I'm thinking about Donna and the furniture she's created. It has all of that. It has that sensuality that you would want to sit in. And also having things clean, contemporary, as opposed to traditional. And traditional usually comes, in my mind, from the UK or other parts of Europe. Nothing wrong with that. But we stand for something in this country that finally, in the last, I don't know how many years, has gotten recognized. We were always recognized in film and music, now even fashion. American designers are working in Europe, where it was always the other way around.
So Calvin, one, hopefully we'll find some magic potion and we'll get a chance to be around a long time, the two of us. But I couldn't be more excited with your unique ability to understand what people are interested in, youth, sensuality, if we want to use that word. I can't wait for you to come and give me a call in a week or two and tell me, you know, Mike, I got a new idea. Let's go do this together.
I'm thinking all the time.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Mike. A pleasure to be here.